Hello, I welcome you once again to the video where we dive into the world of mysterious cryptids and mythological beings. I see you're interested to explore the third tier of the iceberg. I wanna spark your interest with this video, where we dive into the depths of the world's most fascinating and mysterious creatures. Even if you didn't see tier 1 and 2, don't worry at all and just enjoy the ride, where we talk about the stories, legends and sightseeings behind each of these creatures. I will leave you a link of the previous videos in the description if you want to check it out later. You probably knew what the iceberg videos are, so I will skip that part. So join me on this journey where we unveil the third tier and talk about the secrets and mysteries of the ultimate cryptids and mythological beings iceberg chart. But before we start, thank you for watching and for the support, and most importantly, enjoy the video. So let's start this tier the right way. Do you know about the Alkali lake monster found in the depths of Nebraska's Alkali Lake? So let's see what awaits us in the depth of this lake. The lake is the home of the Alkali lake monster, which is described as a 40-foot-long alligator-like creature with rough, grayish-brown skin and a horn-like appendage located between its eyes and nostril. Reports of the Alkali lake monster started in the August of 1921, and the first written account of this monster appeared in 1922 in the 1922 printing of the Hay Spring News. The second written report appeared in 1923. According to this report, a man named J.A. Johnson claimed that he and two friends saw this creature while camping on the shore of the Alkali Lake. Three men reported they saw a creature from a distance, allegedly 60 feet long, looking like an alligator, and it has rhinoceros-like horn. Some researchers of the Alkali lake monster have suggested the creature was nothing more than a hoax. They state that at the time of this creature first started to appear in the Hay Spring News, it was published by the man of the name John J. Meyer, who reportedly has some love for hoaxes, while others claim that the creature might be a completely unknown species or a surviving member of a prehistoric group of animals. Like we saw on the last two layers, the Greek mythology is just fascinating with its creatures and stories. The second entry is about the AntMan. The story goes like this. After a devastating plague that killed off the entire population of the island called Aegina, the governing king begged his father, other known as Zeus, to repopulate his kingdom with ants. This created an army of fierce and eager warriors that took directions from and remained loyal to the king. The king's son, Peleus, take a group of these human-sized insects to the Greek city of Thessaly. The son of Pius even led this group of fearsome warriors to battle in the legendary Trojan War. They could carry and use 4 weapons at a time and use their large red eyes to see from all directions at once. They could easily crush a human soldier's skull with their huge powerful jaws. Just like ants, they were extremely organized and had no fear of death. Given the order, they would rush and eagerly enter any battle and wouldn't take any prisoners. The next entry is about Azi Dahaka, one of the most horrific monsters in all of Middle Eastern mythology. Created by an evil god, this three-headed dragon terrorized the people in the land called Persia. Some people in the region think that Azi is still around, waiting for its chance to bring even more destruction to the world. The story of Azi Dahaka begins to emerge about 2600 years ago. In one story, Azi Dahaka was sent to swallow the sun, so all life on earth would perish. The monster was stopped by the fire god, Atar, and chained to the mountain Demavend near the Caspian Sea. In Persian mythology, Azi Dahaka is eventually defeated by the hero Feridun, who is aided by the god Ahura Mazda. Feridun defeats Azi Dahaka in a fierce battle and seals him away, restoring peace to the land. Let's talk about the demonic entity that originates from English folklore, none other than the black dog. What is the black dog, you ask me? So usually it's an unnaturally large dog with glowing red or yellow eyes. It is often connected with the devil as an English incarnation of the hellhound. and it's depicted as an omen of death. It is often associated with death, darkness and evil. Black dogs are often described as large and ominous, and they are said to roam the countryside at night, often around crossroads and burial grounds. The origin of the black dog is uncertain. Some speculate it originated from Celtic or Germanic elements in British culture. The origin is hard to pinpoint down as many creatures like this are seen all over the world. However, some black dogs, such as the Kurt black dog in some rest, are said to be black guardian dogs, guiding travelers at night onto the right path and protecting them from danger. Another creepypasta found its way on this iceberg. This one is simply called Bob, but Bob is short for brutal, obscene beast. Just a small warning for disturbing content. The story has circulated online in various forms since around 2010. The story centers around a mysterious figure known only as Bob, who is said to have a grotesque appearance and a menacing presence. There are few different versions of Bob's story, but they describe him usually as having an unnaturally long body or limbs, with a twisted or distorted face which is difficult to look at. To tell you the short story of Bob, his story begins like this. Bob breaks into a house of a kid named Andrew, who it has apparently been stalking for quite some time. Hearing him walking over broken glass, Andrew grabs a titanium baseball bat, but he is too scared to move as it gets closer. Eventually he hits Bob in the chest with the bat. Unable to escape, Andrew is forced to watch as Bob presses its clawed foot down onto his stomach, slowly ripping through his flesh and killing him. Bob then leans over and bites off Andrew's face, before tearing and eviscerating his corpse. After devouring his remains, Bob departs to the broken door with a pure and deep hatred in his heart. Of course, this is the shorter version of the creepypasta, and if you're interested, you can always check it out for yourself. This creature has many names: the Swamp Stalker of Boogie Creek, but also known as Fouke Monster or Southern Sasquatch. You can already guess it's a human/ape-like creature that lives near Fouke, Arkansas, and bears a strikingly resemblance to the Momo seen in Louisiana, Missouri. It made it in the news and his tracks have been indeed found. It is very vicious and attacks humans. Many people have been terrified by this creature. Local legends of ape-like creatures date back to 1946, when it was called the Jonesville Monster, based on the town where it was initially seen. It is seen again in the mid-1960s, but the creature didn't make any local headlines until 1971, when it was said to have attacked the home of Bobby and Elizabeth Ford. The monster was also inspiration for the 1922 documentary film The Legend of Boogie Creek. Original reports from the 1970s described this as a huge creature standing 7 feet tall and up to 300 pounds and with a chest about 3 feet wide. We already covered one boar that bothered the Greek folk, but now we are going to talk about the Caledonian boar. According to the myth, the boar was sent by the goddess Artemis as a punishment for the king Onios of Caledon, who had failed to offer proper sacrifices. In the response to the threat, the king gathered a group of famous heroes to hunt it down. The hunt was pretty dangerous, with many of the heroes being injured or killed in the process. However, one of them, called Maligur, eventually succeeded in killing the boar, using a spear to strike it through his heart. The story of the boar has been retold in various forms throughout the history, including in the works of Homer and Ovid. The boar was said to be massive and a fearsome beast with razor-sharp tusks, and was feared by all who knew it. The boar is also a symbol of wild and untamed aspect of the nature, and others view it as a test of bravery and heroism. Now let's take a look at the ancient civilization called Maya. So in the late post-classic Maya mythology of the Popol Vuh, Camazotz is a bad spirit at service of the lords of the underworld. Camazotz means death bat in the Kichi language. The bat is often associated with night, death and sacrifice. In the Popol Vuh, Camazotz are bat-like spirits encountered by the Maya hero twins Kunupu and Xbalanque during their trials in the underworld. The twins had spent the night in the House of Bats, where they squeezed themselves into their own blowguns in order to defend themselves from the circling bats. Kunupu stuck his head out of his blowing gun to see if the sun has risen, and Camazotz immediately snatched off his head and carried it to the ball court to be used by the gods in the next ball game. According to the legend, Camazotz was often depicted as a fierce, bloodthirsty creature with the head of a bat and the body of a human. He is said to have razor-sharp teeth and claws and to be capable of tearing his victims apart with ease. The Catoblippers is a legendary creature from Ethiopia, Africa, first described by the Pliny the Elder and later by Claudius Aelianus. It is said to resemble a Cape buffalo, with its head always pointing downwards due to its great weight. Its stare or breath can turn either people in stone or killing them. The creature is often thought to be based on a real-life encounters with wild beasts. It is sometimes known to Africa people a version of Gorgon. Also, according to the legend, the Catoblippers were feared by many tribes in Africa who believe that it can cause droughts or other natural disasters. Some stories even suggest that the creature could hypnotize and control its prey, luring them closer with a powerful gaze before attacking them. Another ape-like creature, and again from America, to be more precise South America, where was apparently discovered during an expedition to the border between Colombia and Venezuela in 1920. The creature is named after the Swiss geologist Francois Delois, who apparently discovered it. While camping near the Tara River, two large creatures headed to the group. Initially, Delois thought they were bears, but then they noted they were monkey-like creatures holding onto branches. The creature, one male and one female, seemed angry, howling and gesturing, defecating into their hands and throwing feces at the group. Fearing for their safety, the group shot and killed the female, and the male managed to flee. Delois and the other rest of the group quickly recognized they encountered something unusual. The animal resembled a spider monkey but much larger, 1.6 meters tall, compared to the larger spider monkey which was just 1 meter tall, and noted that the creature had no tail at all. This entry brings also some controversy about the authenticity of the animal, with critics saying that the Lois app is a hoax and that the photograph shows only a post-spider monkey carcass. Again, like always, you can state your opinion on this. It is still unknown if this creature truly exists or is it a hoax. Now let's talk about aliens. Well, sort of. So Friends of Night Crawlers, also known as the Friends of Alien, that appears in Fresno, California, and it was also seen in Yosemite National Park in California. In both side scenes, it's only seen in video footage. Friends of Night Crawlers appear to be relatively short creatures, apparently 1.5 meters, with most of their height being made up of its legs, as they possess extremely small upper bodies. It is also hard to find any details in the upper body of the cryptid due to the poor quality of the footage. It is also extremely thin with human-like arms, and it also appears to have very short, thin feet. There is also a creature from Carmel area that is tall, but he is grey with presumably no arms and long muscular legs. It is bipedal and walks in an odd manner with its backwards bending knees, and some say that the creature also resembles the Frenzo Nightcrawler. The Hippocampus or Hippocamp is a creature from, you guessed it, Greek mythology. It is a creature with the upper body of a horse and the lower body of a fish or a dolphin. The name Hippocampus comes from two Greek words, hippos meaning a horse and campus meaning a sea monster. The hippocampus was also featured in the myth of Poseidon and Demeter. According to the myth, Poseidon pursued Demeter, who turned herself into a mere However, Poseidon also transformed himself into a stallion and mated with her, producing a daughter named Dysopia, which was a horse with a fish tail, which became also the first Hippocampus. In Asian Mesopotamian mythology, the Hippocampus was also known as Ebgel, a fish-like creature with a human head that was associated with the god Ea. The Ebgel was considered a messenger and servant to the gods and was believed to possess great wisdom and knowledge. Who doesn't love to talk about aliens? Hopkinsville goblins are just that, sort of. The Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter is the name given the series of connected incidents of alleged close encounters with presumably extraterrestrial beings. Let's go back to 1955, Kentucky, USA. The incident occurred on the night of August 21 and 22, when the two families, the Sudsons and Taylors, claimed to have encountered a group of strange, small grayish-green creatures with long arms, large eyes, and claw-like hands. The creatures appeared to be around 3 feet tall and moved bizarrely and erratically. The families reported that the creatures attempted to enter their home and that they were able to shoot them, but without causing any apparent damage. The whole incident lasted several hours, and the family claimed that the creatures eventually retreated after sunrise. The Goblins encounter gained widespread media attention and has since become a popular subject of interest among UFO enthusiasts and paranormal researchers. Despite numerous investigations, the incident has never been fully explained, and there is no conclusive evidence to support the existence of these creatures. Did you know that the Republic of Congo had dinosaurs? Well, the Kasai Rex found its home there. One day in 1932, the experienced Swedish hunter John Johnson wanted to hunt down a huge elephant, so he and his servants left their camp in Cape Town. They crossed a swamp until they reached savanna in the Kasai Valley. Instead of finding elephants, they found a huge lizard-like creature that had attacked a rhinoceros and managed to tear off his leg, and then started to attack John. And upon returning to the camp, John walked shivering and collapsed, and his men picked him up. He stated it was reddish in color and blackish colored stripe. He also stated in his interview with the newspaper Rhodesia Herald it had a long snout and numerous teeth. Over the next few days they tried to find the creature, but with no results. The creature is long thought to be a theropod. As the name implies, the creature resembles the Tyrannosaurus rex. However, no Tyrannosaurus as well as any Tyrannosaurid species ever lived in Africa, but a theropod is a similar, potentially large in size and overall shape creature was reported to live in Africa. Skeptics believe that the Kasai Rex is actually a species of a giant monitor lizard, since the monitor lizards are reptiles that can stand on 2 legs at a time. When we take a look at the classic Cobalt from German folklore, it's a type of a mythological creature. The word Cobalt comes from the German word Cobalt or Cobalt, which means goblin or household spirit. Kobolds are often depicted as small, mischievous beings that live in people's home and perform various tasks, such as cleaning or repairing household items. They're also sometimes associated with mining, and they are said to be able to find precious metals and gems hidden in the earth. In some stories, kobolds are depicted as tricksters who enjoy playing pranks on humans. They would also move household items around, hide things, or make strange noises in the middle of the night. In some other stories, kobolds are considered helpful spirits that protect homes and their inhabitants from harm. Let's talk about another worm creature. The Lambton Worm is a legend from the county Durham in northeast England. The story takes place around the river Wear, and it's one of the area's most famous pieces of folklore. According to the legend, a young man named John Lambton went fishing in the river and caught a strange creature that looked like a small worm-like dragon. Instead of disposing this creature, John threw it away into a nearby well and forgot about it. Over the time, the creature grew in a massive, fearsome dragon known as the Lambton Worm. Eventually, the worm grows extremely large and the well becomes poisonous. The villagers start to notice livestock going missing and discover that a fully grown worm has emerged from the well and coiled itself around the local hill. John Lambton eventually returned from the Crusaders and decided to slay the creature with the help of a wise woman who told him to fashion a suit of armor studded with blades. The Lambton Worm was eventually defeated, but John was cursed for his previous neglect and was unable to die peacefully in his bed. The legend of the Lambton Worm has been adapted in various forms, including ballads, plays, and children's stories. It is considered one of the most famous legends in English folklore. Lob is a fictional character that the Swedish musician and artist Supercomposite has claimed to discover with an unspecified text-to-image AI model in April 2022. The user stated they discovered it when asking the model to produce something as different from the prompt as possible. He said they first generated these images by using the algorithmic technique of negative prompt weights. He described the image as off-putting, devastating-looking older woman with defined red skin on her cheeks. He also nicknamed the character Loab, after one of the first generated images resembled an album cover that included the printed word Loab. He says that using the image as a prompt for further images produce increasingly violent and gory results. Loab has also been referred to as the first AI-generated cryptid and as such gone viral. In 1987 in Wexford County, Michigan, United States, begins the tale of the Michigan Dogman. The creature is described as a 7-foot-tall, blue-eyed or amber-eyed, bipedal canine-like animal with a torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounds like a human screaming. According to the legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle. The creature was mostly unknown to the modern world until very late in the 20th century. It is said to be stalking the area around the Manistee River since the days when the Odawa tribes lived there. The legend of the Michigan Dogman had been popularized by a song by Steve Cook called The Legend, which was broadcasted on a radio station in 1987. Since then, there have been numerous reports of sightings of this creature, particularly in Michigan but also in some other states. Ngwa, also known as Nunda, is a mysterious creature seen in Tanzania, East Africa. It was described as a giant grey tiger-like creature but the size of a donkey. According to the legend, it is a nocturnal creature that preys on livestock, particularly goats and sheep, and is said to be a fearsome predator that is nearly impossible to kill. It is also believed to have supernatural powers and is feared by many in the region. The evidence of this creature first arose in the early 1900s. The animal tracks were like those of a leopard but much larger. Another creepypasta. Please let me know if you're interested into creepypastas. If so, I can dig up an iceberg about them, and I will make a separate video just about creepypastas. But now let's focus on Mr. Widemouth. The story revolves around a young boy named Kevin and his interactions with a strange creature named Mr. Widemouth. The story is told from the Kevin's point of view and follows his experience as Mr. Widemouth becomes more and more involved in his life. According to the story, Kevin first met Mr. Widemouth when he was staying at his grandmother's house in Pennsylvania. Mr. Widemouth appears to Kevin as a small, furry creature with large, glowing eyes and an impossible white mouth filled with sharp teeth. Despite his unsettling appearance, Mr. Widemouth is friendly and begins to accompany Kevin on his adventures. And every time his mother would check on Kevin, Mr. Widemouth would disappear. As the story progresses, Mr. Widemouth becomes increasingly manipulative and starts encouraging Kevin to do dangerous things. Once he said, "I pretend that there is a big soft trampoline below the window, and I jump. If you pretend hard enough, you jump back like a feather. I want you to try it." He also encouraged Kevin to juggle with knives, for fun. Eventually Kevin's parents become concerned about his behavior and take him to a therapist. Mr. Weidman becomes angry and tells Kevin that he needs to get rid of his parents in order to be truly happy. The story ends on an ambiguous note, with Kevin recalling that he wakes up in the bed the next morning and never saw Mr. Weidmouth again. However, he always has a feeling that someone was watching him from the darkness outside his window. Let's take a look at the Nandi Bear, a cryptid that is found in Eastern Africa. It takes its name from the Nandi people who lived in the western Kenya. Accounts of the Nandi Bear date back to the early 20th century, with locals describing it as a fierce predator that could easily kill humans and livestock. Descriptions of the Nandi Bear are ferocious, powerful build carnivore with high front shoulders, over 4 feet tall, and it has a huge back. Local legends call that the Nandi Bear has reddish hair and long feet. In 1961, Gardner Salu noted sightings were reported in Kenya throughout the 19th and early 20th century, but it has never been caught or identified. Sightings of this Nandi Bear decreased over the time. In 1905, Richard Maynard Sagan speculated that it may have been an anthropod ape now extinct off accounts of decreasing rainfalls. So Ningen is an aquatic human whale-like creature that appears in modern Japanese folklore since around the mid-2000s, supposedly inhabiting the sub-Antarctic oceans. Even though the Ningen was invented as a fictional creature by Japanese internet users, it became a subject of cryptozoology. The Ningen is described as a whale-like creature with human-like similarities, and in some stories it is said to have extremely large arms and hands. Pigmentation of this creature is said to be pale blue. The creature has a large slit-like mouth and either small or large gaping eyes. The legend surrounding the Ningen began in 2002 on a forum post on the Japanese online forum website 2channel, which claims that the members of a whale research ship witnessed that the creature as it surfaced near the ship of the Antarctic coast, originally thinking it was a submarine. The crew went to take a closer look, but the apparent submarine vanished into waves. Also in 2005, Google Earth captured what many people supposedly think to be Ningen near the Southern Ocean. Many skeptics do believe that the Ningen was actually an iceberg that coincidentally looked like a sea monster. The next one on this list is called Nissi or Tomte, a creature from Scandinavian and Nordic mythology. They are generally described as being short, having a long white beard and wearing a knit cap in grey or red color. They often have appearance similar to that of a garden gnome. It is usually a kind spirit that brings good luck and prosperity to those who treat it kindly. Farmers would often leave porridge, milk or other foods to appease the Nissi and ensure good fortune for the crops and livestock. The Nissi is also known for its association with Christmas, where it said they would help Santa Claus to deliver presents to children, but he would also become angry if they felt disrespect or neglected. The Nissi was not always a popular figure, particularly during the times of Christianization of Scandinavia. Like most creatures of the folklore, he would be seen as a heathen, pre-Christian, and would be demonized and connected to the devil. Folklore added other negative beliefs about the Tomte, such as having Tomte on the farm meant you put the fate of your soul at risk, or that you have performed various non-Christian things to lure a Tomte to your farm. British folklorist Catherine Briggs called the Inequali the nastiest of all demons of Scotland's Northern Isles. The Inequali's breath was thought to kill corpses and sicken livestock, and the creature was held responsible for droughts and epidemics on the land, despite being predominantly a sea dweller. It is described as a grotesque and evil sea monster with a horse body and a human head. Its skin is said to be black and slimy, and it has no nose or ears, but only a one large gaping mouth that is filled with razor-sharp teeth, is also said to have a long, gangly arms that drag on the ground and a large single red eye. As Scottish folklore was influenced by some Nordic mythologies, the creature is also somewhat similar to Kelpie, which we addressed earlier. In the Orcadian folklore, it is believed that Ngwa is controlled by an evil sorceress or an evil spirit. To ward off the creature's evil influence, locals would make offerings such as salt, bread and iron, and they would also try to avoid the creature's territory and never speak its name loud. The Queensland Tiger is a cryptid reported to live in Queensland area in Eastern Australia, also known by its native name, the Yari. It is described as being a dog-sized tiger with stripes and long tail, prominent front teeth and a savage temperament. The earliest documented eyewitness reports of Queensland Tiger date back from 1871. Reports have indicated the creature is fast and agile. Reports have constantly coming from the northeast of Queensland, but they were diminishing their numbers since the 1950s. But they continue to occur from time to time. The Queensland Tiger has resemblance to a thylacine. It was an animal of similar size and predatory habits and did live in Australia as recently as the late Pleistocene period, perhaps coexisting with the first humans that arrived in Australia, who were the ancestors of the modern Australian Aborigines. However, scientists estimate that the Thylacoleo went extinct 30,000 years ago. Seed Eater came tonight. He said kids weren't doing the trick anymore. He wanted something bigger. The Seed Eater is the main antagonist of the creepypasta stories Seed Eater Experiments and Through the Trees. It is a mysterious monster that haunts human children, then devours them and feeds off their youth. The story about the creature goes like this. In the series of blog accounts uploaded from 2010 to 2012, a man named Clifford Cliff Horry catalogued all the evidence information he could find about the creature that he and his friends encountered during their childhoods. As he was very close to finding more about this creature, suddenly he was ambushed by the Seed Eater. But in the meanwhile, his friends who were following him managed to shoot the Seed Eater and almost kill it. Cliff lands in a hospital, but he manages to recover. As they went back to find the wounded creature, sadly they didn't find any trace of him. The creature would only appear every few years and eat mostly children, and that's why also it's called the Seed Eater, as children are representing as seed. Seed Eater is a human-like creature that has a thin skeletal body covered in black fur. It is said to have large oval-shaped head with no visible eyes or mouth, but it has two long slender arms that he uses to grasp its prey. The Seed Eater is cunning and tricky, but also a master at manipulations. It is shown to be extremely intelligent and uses psychological and physical damage to its prey to ensure that it doesn't fight when it's attacked, allowing him for a fast and easy meal. Let's take a look at Norse but also Celtic mythology, where we found the creature Selki, which is changing from a seal to a human form by shedding its skin, usually in the form of a beautiful woman. According to the legend, Selki would come ashore on moonlight nights to dance and sing on the beaches. In many versions of the Selki myth, a human falls in love with a Selki and steals her skin while she is in human form, preventing her from returning to the sea. The Selki is then forced to marry the human and bear his children, but she remains homesick for the sea and misses her true form. Eventually the Selki would be able to find her skin and return to the sea, leaving the human and the family behind. Slowdown is another sound we encounter in the deep sea. The sound was first recorded on May 19, 1997 by the NOAA. From the first noticed sound, it would appear each year since then. Some say that the sound is emitted by a sea monster. The name was given because the sound would slowly decrease in frequency over about 7 minutes. But others speculate that the origin of the sound is moving ice in the Antarctica. Spring-Heeled Jack is an entity in the English folklore of the Victorian era. The first claimed sightings of the Spring-Heeled Jack was in 1837. Later sightings were reported all over the UK and especially in the suburb London. The first alleged sightings of the Spring-Heeled Jack were made in London in 1837 and the last reported sightings were made in Liverpool in 1904. According to the legend, Spring-Heeled Jack would often target lone travelers, particularly women, and attack them. Perhaps the best known of the alleged incidents involving Spring-Heeled Jack were the attacks on the two teenage girls Lucy Scales and Jane Alsop. The Alsop report was widely covered by the newspaper, including a piece in the Times. The press coverage of those two attacks helped to raise the profile of Spring-Heeled Jack. Also, one more example, in October 1837, a girl by the name of Mary Stevens was walking on a Lavender Hill, where she was working as a servant. After visiting her parents in Battersea, a strange figure leaped from the dark alley. After immobilizing her, he began to kiss her face while ripping her clothes and touching her flesh with his claws, which were, according to her, cold and clammy as those of a corpse. In the panic, the girl screamed, making the attacker quickly flee from the scene. We talk about harpies, but now let's talk about Stemphalian birds from the Greek mythology. They were a group of man-eating birds that live near the lake Stemphalia in Arcadia, Greece. They were believed to have been created by the goddess Artemis or Ares, the god of war. According to the legend, the birds would prey on travelers and livestock, and their feathers were said to be sharp enough to pierce armor. They were described as being larger than eagles, with wings that create a defining noise when they flew. Their feathers were made of brass or bronze, which allowed them to be used as a deadly weapon. In the myth, Hercules and one of his 12 labors was to capture the Stemphalian birds and bring them back to the king Eurystheus. To complete this task, Hercules received a set of magical bronze crotala, or clappers, from the goddess Athena, which he used to scare the birds out of their hiding place in the woods, and once they flew, he shot them down with his arrows and struck them down with his club. This creature lurked in the river and attacked the people trying to cross it, and even managed to sink boats. The creature was described as a dragon, half animal, half fish, and thicker than an ox, having longer legs than a horse with sword-like teeth. The name of this legendary beast is of course Darkos, fearsome legendary dragon-like mythological hybrid from the province in southern France. According to the legend that originates around the 14th century, the Darkos would come out the nearby river and attack the town and its people. The creature was said to be powerful, that no weapons could harm it. However, a young girl named Martha was able to tame the beast by using her kindness and gentleness. She led the Darkos into town, where the people subdued it and then converted to Christianity. Tango, or Heavenly Dog, is a type of a legendary creature found in the Shinoto belief. They are considered a type of a yokai, a supernatural being, or a Shinoto kami, which were gods or spirits. The Tango were originally thought to take the forms of birds of prey and a monkey. They were traditionally depicted as a human, monkey and avian characteristics. Buddhism long held that the Tango were disruptive demons, but over time their image gradually softened into one of a protective spirit of the mountains and forests. But it still was dangerous. Some of the earliest representations of Tango appear in the Japanese picture scrolls, such as the Tengozushi Emaka painted around 1296, which made parodies of high-ranking priests. Like Nissi and Champ, the thesis is a lake monster and a legendary creature that inhabits the Tastes Lake, a freshwater lake in British Columbia, Canada. It is often described as a large serpent-like creature with a long, slimy body and scaly skin. On 22 August 1972, the Victorian Daily Times reported that two local teams claimed to have seen the creature with a silvery scaled skin, sharp claws and a spike on its head, while swimming in the lake in the evening. 4 days later, local teenagers reported being attacked at the beach by a dark and scaled monster, but this was later admitted as a hoax. And the last one on this list today is Zalo, a creepypasta. Zalo is a creature that could be best described as horror and a creature of utmost terror. He is known also as he who waits behind the wall. Zalo is depicted as a jet-skinned knight in silver armor surrounded by a black lighting. However, his true form is much more horrific. He is an eyeless abomination with 7 mouths. His right hand holds a dead star, and his left hand holds a candle whose light is shadowed and stained with the blood of a tiger. 6 of his mouths speak in different tongues. When the time is right, the 7th mouth would sing a song that will end the earth. However, to my understanding, Zalo is also a meme where a person takes a popular picture or comic and corrupts it. And this was the last entry on this list. I'm thanking you for sticking this long in this video, and most importantly, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, remember to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also check the previous videos if you didn't see them already, or my other iceberg charts. The next video will be probably out the next weekend, and that's all from me now, and I see you in the next one. Bye!